Okay. Good day. T1, T1. Good day, T1, T1. T1, T1. T1. There we go. Yeah, the game's unfortunately very expensive to buy a real card of these days. There are plenty of ways to play it without an authentic card though. Oh dear. T1. I did, yes. Yep. Luckily, it was a pretty easy path to route out. It turns out, like, on all of my guesses, what I kept doing was I would, like... Because on the proper path, you don't have huge power Marrow, and I kept hitting ones where Marrow would have huge power, and, like, you could see from how much damage it did to Rattata, so I'd be like, well, that can't be it, so now I'll adjust it a bit more. But it turns out it actually can be it, because the frame after, where Marrow has huge power, actually immediately realigns. Because at 659 you get a double advance on the encounter check, and so it goes to 661. But at 660 you don't, and so it goes to 661. And that's what you have to do for the backup, because you can't go back to 659, you can't make it in time. Yeah, I flagged Mahogany in my PB. Just not my first run. You want to wine? That's pretty cool. Why did they think it was a repro? Well, it's backup time. I messed it out. It's just from the huge power, which is what? Eight frames? That seems very weird that there would be a legit board inside of a... obviously non-legit shell. Well, the main difference when you have an Aipom is that you have an Aipom and you can use Aipom. It does have a pretty low catch rate. You know nothing. This despite the fact that, of course, Pokemon is actually one of the most equal male and female participant play games. One of those sentences where the word that's emphasized has a big impact on the meaning. When it's, how would you know? I mean, a lot of the repros are actually pretty decent these days, to the point where it's like, if you just want, like, if your experience is just wanting to play the game, and you're not using it for some sort of competitive aspect or something, probably doesn't really matter. But yeah, back in the day you would get issues with, like, not saving and moves and stuff being wrong. There's been a couple of times in speedruns where people have found out, like, years later that they were actually playing on repros and never knew, because enemy trainers were actually using moves that they don't know in the legit game. Yeah, it was in Hoenn. It was a while ago now, because it was old repros. But honestly, I think you'll see in speedrunning at some stage moving forward that repros get allowed. I mean, it depends if they're comparable. Like, if they're exactly the same, they wouldn't need to. The problem is just that not every repro plays equal to, like, other repros. But from what I can tell, even in, like, even Gen 4 repros have, the good ones, have produced, like, exactly the same frame count on save times and load times and everything. So it's like, that is comparable. If you think red and blue pushed what the Game Boy was capable of, wait till you hear about gold and silver. Oh, really? I mean, Crystal was a Game Boy Color game. But it still was extremely ambitious. The Japanese one, especially. But yeah, I mean, it was. Back then, the Pokemon games were absolutely outstanding at the time they were getting released. Like, even, like, you think of Emerald as a GBA game, is fucking mental for the GBA. How much it had. I mean, you can still look at Gen 1 retrospectively and be like, this was fucking amazing. Oracle games were Game Boy Color as well. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty fair. I definitely don't, though. But yeah, it's like... One of the things that I think about that really helps, like, contextualize it is it's like, if you're shitting on Gen 1 and Gen 2, right? That was an era where you still had to fucking play the games under a lamp. Like, when you think about it like that, I think it puts into decent context, like, how fucking different that era was. That was the technology we were working with at that stage. I mean, true. There would have been people who only played, like, Gen 3 on an SP, though. Yeah, like, look, Hoenn is not my favorite region at all. But I can still look at a game like Emerald and be like, this was fucking incredible how much they put into it. But yeah, I mean, definitely Gen 1 and 2, you're playing on something where you needed to keep putting AA batteries into it, and you had to play under a fucking lamp. Oh, bro, but Blight did special damage. Oh, unplayable. Bro, we did not. That was the least of anybody's fucking concern. I still have a, it's actually the only watch that I have that has a button that then projects a Pikachu onto the wall. Well, I completely fucked that up. There's no way this works. Yep, this is gonna be dead as soon as I get into the grass after this cutscene. I'll get an encounter. Yep. See? Yeah, I like Aipom. G'day, g'day, TY. To be fair, there isn't like any Johto mod that I don't like. Yep. I agree, Technician is a really cool ability. Yeah, Slugma has an oddly late evolution level. It doesn't really make sense for a Pokemon as underperforming as it is. Like, it should really evolve in the 20s. I mean, I'm fine with not learning flamethrower until like level 50. That's when most things should learn a move as good as flamethrower, and did in Gen 3. Yeah, I mean, that's its big problem, is it doesn't get anything else, because all the other mid-tier fire moves just weren't given to Slugma. Like, there was no Flame Burst or Lava Plume or whatever back then. It was just, you know, Flame Wheel and Fire Punch, and it's not getting any of these moves. It's not getting Blaze Kick either. Even brought in stuff like Incinerate later on. Yes, that is called the Silk Scarf. Yeah, and then they deleted Flame Burst from the games in the Switch era. GG. Yeah, in Gen 2 they actually had two. They had the pink bow and the polka dot bow. Both increased normal attack moves. I don't think there was really any reason to hide the eggs the way that they did with Primo, though, to be honest. I still think they should give away more eggs in the games, just generally speaking. Like, I've spoken so many times about how much of a missed opportunity it is to not use the odd egg more after Crystal. Such a good design feature. But even just the standard eggs were just fun. It was just fun to have one. Like, even in fucking Hoenn, hatching the Wynut egg was fun. I enjoyed it. And that is just not a fun Pokemon to use. But it still felt good. So imagine if you did it with good Pokemon. Like, I still think a gift egg is a novelty, though. Like, I'm thinking about even when I played through Lazarus recently, right? And I got that egg. I was like, oh, I'm going to keep this in my party. Yeah, La Vesta, cool. I actually think the reason, I could be wrong about this, but I think the reason they changed hatch egg level from 5 to 1 was because people were complaining that there were Pokemon in the wild below level 5, so how do they exist if egg hatch levels are 5? I think part of the reason they originally made them 5 as well is the way the experience was coded was a level 1 Pokemon in the medium-slow leveling group would have negative experience. And so they didn't want level 1s to exist. Correct. But yeah, I agree. I actually prefer them hatching at level 5, because it's like if you want to actually use the Pokemon, a level 5 can actually fight for itself. Like, you can train it by itself if you go to the, like, the early routes and whatever. You know, like you're using a starter Pokemon. But a level 1 can't really fend for itself, you know? Like, you're definitely switch training or whatever at the start, if you're actually using it. And it's not that I have a problem with switch training, and I mean, especially at that point, you're only doing it for, like, one Pokemon. But I do like the idea of having the option, you know? Hatch level should depend on how you care for the egg. Like in the Gen 3 glitch where... Oh, no, you can do it in 4 as well. How you can use the Pokemon inside the egg before it hatches and get it to evolve. I mean, if they're fighting the weakest Pokemon in the game, I think they should do. Oh, for fuck's sake! How is that not the first time I've bonked on that wall? Jesus Christ. But yeah, it does make checking for IVs easier, that is true. I guess for some people there is a bit of novelty from raising from level 1 specifically, like all the way. Like it feels like they're going all the way. But I don't know, like having started in a game that literally didn't have level 1s, that doesn't really carry a lot of novelty for me. Good, it still works. Yeah, true. I mean, I don't really care about any of the IV stuff in the later games. None of the games, in the manga they do catch up to Silver though. And so the canon thing that happens, right, and why it makes sense that you give a bullshit name, is that Gold deliberately gives a bad description of Silver, so that they actually can't take him in. So you actually deliberately give a false name to the police. That's why they never catch him. I still think it's hilarious how they changed the default name, though, in these games. Like, I'm playing in Soul Silver, so if I don't enter a name, the default name is Heart. Which I think is just ridiculous for that character. Yeah, I don't really know what I named my rivals as a kid. When I was paying attention, it was typically just whoever I was closest with at the time, I would name my rival. Not for an actual human. If I was paying attention. If I wasn't paying attention, their name was guaranteed A. Just like my own name. That's pretty funny. I definitely never would have called the Johto rival Silver. I probably would have done a playthrough in Gen 1 where I called the rival Gary. Maybe more than once. It might have even been possible that I called the Johto rival Gary once as well. But like, Silver didn't show up in the anime, so I wouldn't have had a basis to give him a name. Because I certainly didn't read the manga as a kid. But I did so many playthroughs of Gen 1 and 2. I have no recollection of what I did when I played through Heart Gold or Silver the first time though. No idea. I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise given I speedrun games, but I'm definitely not numb to replaying games that I've replayed many times. I mean, Ball was Gen 4, so you didn't really get him instead of Silver. There wasn't anyone introduced in Johto, really. There also wasn't anybody introduced in Poem. Holy fucking shit this hoot hoot, man. I mean, Hoenn was even worse given they got rid of everybody else as well. Like, at least in Johto you had, like, Floon. The people from Kanto still exist. I mean, Barry shows up in Sinnoh as well. They just also introduced Paul. I mean, the contests in Hoenn also just weren't very good. Like, they got much better at showing the contests as they got into them later on. Like, even the Battle Frontier ones are much better than the actual Hoenn ones, but then the Sinnoh ones are better as well. Hoenn anime just was not very good at all. Anyway, I think I'm actually going to stop there for now. I'll do some Emerald Factory later on today. More attempts at this tomorrow. I mean, if you're talking about May getting a fucking ass pull, the fucking Wallace contest was garbage. That was my least favorite one. With Dawns. That was bullshit. I'm still mad about that to this day.